take 8 or something ridiculous. Oh no, this is Diann. I can't tell you how many times I've tried this video today. The very first time I videotaped what I'm about to share with you was perfect. Every single thing I wanted to cover succinctly was perfect. Of course, I didn't have the camera on. Oh, so I've been doing this all afternoon, but let me tell you this. This is Diann from DiannAbroad.com, and I'm in Agy, France. I'm in this beautiful 800-year-old petite house. Stone walls, 3 floors. I'm on the first floor, and this is the kitchen. You can see, this is the kitchen. The second floor, up these narrow tile steps, is the bedroom. A beautiful bedroom, the big window, and the beautiful fresh air just comes in that room. The bathroom is up there. And then the third floor is up these really steep wooden steps to the roof, and also a little room where the washer is. And I've been fighting with this washer all day long. I'm going to tame that washer as soon as we're finished with this video. And this is my last time today. I swear it is. I'm talking to you today about my novel, Just a Girl. I self-published it on 22nd of June on Amazon.com. It comes in paperback and ebook. You can go there and buy it if you wish. Today's the 14th of July. I sold 71 copies in the first 5 days. I couldn't believe it. Those are my Facebook friends. I'm grateful to them. It's a good friend that buys your novel. So it's women's lit, but some male friends of mine they have also purchased the novel, so I'm really grateful to them as well. So today I want to talk to you about 2 questions that I'm getting now that I'm this author, so to speak. I have 2 questions I'm going to cover, and this is the beginning of my videos to bring attention to this novel. It's not that I want to make money from it, because I won't do that, but you know, the average author in the United States, including people like Stephen King and Grisham, all the authors in the United States, when you average out their annual income, it's $1,000. So, not going to make any money from this novel, but it certainly is a sense of accomplishment, and I'm very happy. I just want more and more people to read it. So, again, I appreciate that people have purchased it. So, I'm going to answer 2 questions today. I have 10 questions that have come to me, but 2 questions today about the novel. The first question comes from Steve. Steve and Marilyn are friends of mine. They live in Javia, Spain, which is south of Valencia, south of Alicante. They've been there about a year. They're from California. And Marilyn read the novel, and she really had such nice things to say about it. I appreciate that. Steve is not much of a reader, but he wants to be a writer. Plus, it's a women's lit novel. You know, it's not going to appeal to everyone. So, but Steve wants to write, and he said to me, you know, that he has his patio floor to finish in his house, and his roof, and he also wants to plant these trees. As soon as he gets that done, he's going to write. And so he wanted to know from me, how did I write? Did I start with outlining? Did I put post-it notes on the wall? How is it that I organize my writing? And I said, I have bad news for you, Steve. Don't do what I did. I wanted to get everything out of the way so I could write. So I didn't write for 25 years, and life got me by the neck. I wrote here and there, but I never finished anything. So I said to him, you cannot wait until you get everything done and then write. For me, it was fear. I said, I bet it's fear for you too. You can finish that patio and plant those trees, but then you need to carve out time. You need to carve out time to write, because you're never going to write unless you carve out time. So I suggested to him that he decide if he's going to write 2 or 3 times a week or 5 times a week or on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and decide a time. For me, it's in the morning. I like writing in the morning. As soon as I get up, make a cup of coffee and I start writing. So I told him, whenever you feel like is your best time to write, you carve that time out, and it's like a job. It's like a job. If it's 8 to 10 on Thursdays and Tuesdays, don't be late. And don't let anything interfere. And your cell phone rings, ignore it. You're going to write for those 2 hours or those 4 hours or those 5 hours. You just have to do it. And so that was number one. He didn't even ask me that question, but he sort of asked me, he sort of implied that, I had to respond to his notion of finishing things before he got to it. But the other thing I told him, I didn't outline this novel. I didn't outline it because I've been thinking about it for 25 years. I knew how it was going to begin. I knew the middle. I knew the conflict. I knew the characters, and I knew how it was going to end. So I didn't outline it before I wrote it. I didn't outline it before I wrote it. But I began to outline it after I got to the middle of the writing. So I wrote into the middle of the novel, and then I realized I wasn't sure all of what I said about the main character Paula in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth chapters. And so I had to go back. And I put out a spreadsheet. First chapter, Paula, the protagonist, is 5. This is her motivation. This is the purpose of this chapter. And this is the transition to the next chapter. So I did all of that because I just couldn't remember everything. I wasn't sure that I did it right. And when I outlined it, I found out that there was big holes. So I outlined it. So I got to the middle of the novel, then I outlined it, and then I kept writing, and then I got stuck. I absolutely got stuck because I couldn't end the novel. It took me weeks to figure out how to end the novel. So here comes a plane. So, I have the front door open. So, I couldn't end it. I was struggling. Because when I wrote this novel, Paula took on a life of her own, and I let it happen. So she had different experiences and went different places and had different motivations and met different characters than I had anticipated in the beginning. So that creative writing process I just let happen. And I think I've read that that's what you should do, let it happen. That's a creative process. If I had kept with my outline, I think it would have been less, for me, I'm talking about me, it would be less spontaneous, more precise, not in a good way, and kind of more rigid. So I've been writing this novel, and Paula took on a life of her own, different characters, different plot lines, and I had these little strands of the plot lines, and I couldn't finish it like I had planned to finish it. And Diann, I finally realized, well, forget the way you wanted to end it, Diann. Forget that. Let that go. And I did let it go, but it was a process because I have goals for myself. It was a process to let that previous ending go. And I did what I did when I was in college, and don't laugh now because I have heard from other people that they did the same thing I did when I was in college. When I had trouble finishing my writing papers, my papers in college, I would dream about them. I would dream a way to end those papers. I'd wake up the next morning and I would find that I'd be able to write the ending. Same thing happened to me with this novel. As crazy as it sounds, struggled, let go finally how I wanted to end it, just let what I had written kind of lead me to an ending. Went to sleep one night, I dreamed about it, I got it the next morning. I couldn't type fast enough to finish this novel. And somehow, in my sleep, I had all these strands, plot strands, all came together to a really, really good ending. It was such a wonderful experience. So, I didn't outline this novel, and I explained to Steve, now the next novel I am going to have to outline because I'm not going to think about it for 25 years. Just have to outline because I'm not going to think about it for 25 years. Just not going to spend all that time. And I have an idea, a kernel of an idea of what I want to happen. So I'm going to outline the beginning to the middle, maybe to the middle, and then maybe write out, some ideas about how I would like to end it. So the next novel I will outline to a degree. That's just the way I did it. That's the first question. How do you organize? And for the next novel I will outline at least the first half. Then the second question I got from a reader who, on Goodreads, because I have my novel on Goodreads, and she wanted to know what I liked especially about writing. And I have 3 best things I like about writing. One is the accomplishment. I mean, how many times have I told myself for 25 years that I wanted to write a novel? I mean, my friends were probably sick of it. I was sick of it. I was sick of me saying it. So when I started traveling, I thought there's no excuses because I sold everything. I don't have anything. I don't have to plant trees or fix a patio or do the laundry. Well, I have to do laundry. Oh gosh, don't remind me. I'm going to fix that machine. I have to, I don't have to cut the grass, fix the car, anything like that. I just play my guitar, play tennis, and I write. Take photos and fix my website. So there's no excuse now. So I started writing. It took me 16 months to write the novel. The first 4 months I thought I had it done. I sent it out to my launch team and they said, "It sucks, Diann, it really sucks." So I had to start all over again, but I did it. So the sense of accomplishment is what I liked. The other thing that I liked is what I mentioned before. The characters kind of took on a life of their own. Paula, the protagonist, I had an idea that she was going to do X, Y, and Z. Well, she did A, B, and C, if you follow. So I just went with her. So I liked the whole idea of finding out what Paula was going to do because Paula became my friend. I fell in love with her. She was my really close friend. I couldn't wait to see what she was going to do or hear what was going to happen, this conflict, how she was going to resolve this conflict. And as I would write, I would find that out, and that's part of that creative process that really worked for me. And then the third best thing I like about writing is editing. I mean, writing is really difficult, and editing is not easy either, but I enjoy it because I think, I taught high school English and I taught college English, and I have this red pen in my head. It's part of my DNA maybe. And so I really enjoy, and often it's a relaxation to edit because I like looking at those words. I want to know what they mean. I want to think about which words work right to create some sort of feeling or some ambiance or some stress or some ugliness or uncomfortableness. That's a word. And so I like that whole idea of editing. Really, really love that. And I also like to, get the most economical use of words. So the fewer the words, the better. So that's all fun for me. So I like accomplishment, following the characters, and editing. And one of the things that I guess is the fourth thing, writing this novel was the most excruciating and exhilarating experience I've had. And I can't wait to do it again. And so to describe that, excruciating and exhilarating, I wanted to tell you briefly about an experience I had when I was in Warsaw, Poland. I was planning to go there for a week, and I went there for a week in this beautiful apartment. It was the second level, a lot of light, and it was like April, I think, and it was beautiful spring, and the flowers were blooming, the air was fresh, and a lot of light and open air in this apartment. And I would go downtown and tour and take photos and all that. But after 3 or 4 days, I thought, you know what, this would be a perfect place to write. So I was there for a month. I extended my stay. It was Airbnb. I extended it for a month, and I wrote this part of the novel where Paula is struggling. I mean, she really is struggling to resolve issues. And when I was writing how she was struggling, because I loved her, and I had to get into her head so I could write about how she felt, then when she was sad, I was sad. When she was happy, I was happy. When she cried, I cried. When she was frustrated, I was frustrated. And so in this part of the novel, when I was writing in Warsaw, she was struggling, and oh my gosh, it was a horrible experience in a way for me. Because I was like a mole. I was like a mole under the ground, writing and writing and writing and writing. I would just go out to get a potato and a carrot for dinner, and I'd boil those or something, with a little bit of salt and pepper, sometimes onion. And that's what I had. Coffee in the morning, and it was really, really hard. And yet I was dedicated, and I was addicted to it, really, in a way. And I knew I had lost some weight. I didn't think much about it, but I knew I had lost some weight. Finally, after a month, I'd finished that part of the novel, and I sort of came out of my stupor of creativeness, and I went to Spain, and I saw my friends Ann and John, and they said, "Oh my God, Diann, what happened to you?" I thought maybe I had lost like 5 pounds. I had lost 10 pounds. Was that fun? No. It was excruciating. Was it exhilarating? Yeah. I know, maybe I like the abuse, as sick as that sound. It was exhilarating. It wasn't exhilarating while I did it, but boy, when I got that out there and I figured it out and I wrote what I wanted to write, and I felt like I put on the page, something that I knew the reader would be moved by. It was exhilarating. So those are the answer to my 2 questions. Do I organize, and what did I like best? So I'm really happy. I'm eager for the next novel, and I'm also starting next week. I'm going to start a nonfiction book on how to travel. There'll be some vignettes about my experiences, and you probably know that I've been traveling for like 20 months now and visited 26 countries, including Europe, Morocco, and South America. And so I've learned a lot about how to travel. I'm a solo nomad traveler. And so I think I have a lot to offer on a how-to book. And I am sending out questionnaires to make sure I cover what people want to hear. So I have outlined it because it's a nonfiction book, so I'm going to outline it, unlike a novel. It's not so much the creative process with that, it's about getting the facts down so that they make sense. So I'm going to be talking about travel insurance, health insurance, auto insurance, the electronics that you need when you travel, what you should carry in your backpacks, and the thing about credit cards and foreign transaction fees, and if you travel more than 2 months, if you're going to travel like 2 weeks, if you're going to travel like 6 months or more, mail service, and how to vote when you're away, and your taxes when you're away, and all the apps I use on my phone to make it easier for me to travel, and where to get the best deals for lodging and flights and trains. Oh boy, the trains, especially in Italy. Visa, in the Schengen area, and passports and visas. But I'm going to be sending out questionnaires to try to find out what you might want to know. So if you can send me your email address at diann@diannabroad.com, I'll be happy to put you down as a subscriber, and I'll send out questionnaires. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to Marseille the 24th of July, on my way to Milan. I leave from Milan to go to Kosovo, back to the American University of Kosovo, where I'm doing a consulting job. So I'll be back there for a couple months before I go to Asia. Going to Asia in November. and going biking with a friend that I've met from Spain, who's from Hong Kong via the UK. She and I are going to go on a